A motion by Helmut.
Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in the village, the township. You know those government people that make laws and regulations that affect you out there.
That's right, Elgin. And whether you live in the village of Oxford, the village of Leonard, Addison Township, or Oxford Township, well, these are the people that you went and elected. And the commissions and the committees that make decisions that directly affect you, whether you chose to go to that important meeting or not. And the result for you could have been a
Taxing.
situation.
It could be.
Just like Tweedledum and Tweedledee.
Tweedledum. Tweedledee.
Tweedledee.
That's what it is. I have no idea. But anyway, there's other things that occur during these meetings. It's called humor. And sometimes it bubbles to the top, and sometimes it kind of lies under the water.
Yes,
under the,
yes.
whatever it is that flows to the top. It does that.
Let's dive into the pool and see how much is there.
Think we should?
Yeah.
Okay. There's one of us that, by the way, spreads a little humor and rumor.
It's
So-
him.
I think it's pretty much him. I'm pretty sure. Okay, but let's talk about a couple of those meetings that went on then.
Just like Alice in Wonderland.
It's like Alice in Wonderland. Your favorite show?
Your favorite town.
Well, you get that chasing gerbils or whatever they are, little chipmunks. And by the way, if you folks find a yard full of chipmunks that weren't there before,
It's
this
his.
guy. He brings them from Brandon. I can tell you, they have, thousands upon thousands of little. Anyway, that's another subject. Let's talk about Addison Township Zoning Board of Appeals that occurred on
Lord
December
Almighty.
13th. Lucky December 13th. Trevor Haywood is the chairperson for this particular ZBA board. Lawrence Smith serves on the board. Tony Spina, Eric Sent, Robert DeWitt, and Philip Marshall, who was an alternate. And I believe he was on the board at this particular time, and they did have a quorum. Bob Davis was there, who was the attorney for Addison Township, and he had a few words to say as far as the way the whole procedures are handled for the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay.
And there are certain regulations or controls that are in place in making those decisions. Did you know that? You probably didn't know that.
No, but lawyers do.
Yeah. Well, this lawyer did, yeah. He actually serves as an attorney also for the village of Oxford. And I think, does he do some work also for the
I don't think there's
Communications Commission?
anybody in this area doesn't do work for it.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So anyway, so they did the pledge. You got the preliminaries out of the way. The agenda was approved in the minutes for November 8th, 2018, November 8th. Okay, now their case applicant was Lakeville Animal Clinic. Do you know where that's at?
Lakeville Animal Clinic. No.
Okay. Anyway, it's located at 3500 Lakeville Road. And Dr. P. Glidden is the owner. His name is actually Patrick H. Glidden, not to be confused with his father, who was also, I believe, Patrick.
What's his first name again?
Patrick Glidden. Dr. Patrick H. Glidden. And what's interesting, what came up here is that the question came about, does the person who owned the building that you want to put they want to put an addition onto this particular building, consisting of about 2,240 square feet. And the question came up is, are you applying as the building owner or as the property owner? And they went, "What do you mean?" Well, apparently what happened is for legal purposes, the property actually is in a holding company. And Patrick...
And the building sits on it.
And the building sits on it. Patrick owns that holding company that possesses the property as well. So he needed to give approval to himself in order to do this. Interesting, huh? Because what happens is...
say he just owns it.
Yeah. But actually, when a ZBA, Zoning Board of Appeals, decision is made, that decision goes against the property, not the building sitting on it, but the property. So you can see the technicality there,
Well,
right? Kinda?
you
Pretty much.
You organize a complex business, you get complex decisions.
Yeah. Actually, it's pretty easy. He says, yeah, I agree to build this building, no problem at all. So anyway, so we went forward with it, and they did have some questions concerning this. And by the way, it sits on 2 acres and is zoned agricultural in that area. And
Which fits his business?
right. The problem is the setbacks in this new building that they
Fits
want
his
to put in.
business
It fits his business. It does.
as a
As a animal clinic. Animals.
yeah.
Agriculture.
Well,
Animals. You know, like pet,
more of a
sheep,
medical clinic.
horses.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's an animal clinic. And so the question came about is that the code, which is Article 6, Section 6.04, number 7A, states that a minimum setback will be 100 feet from all property lines. Okay, and this doesn't meet that criteria, and that's the reason why he's there. And what he's asking for
Is a variance.
yeah, and relief. He's looking for relief on the, what would be the east side of 23 feet off the 100, which would give him 77 feet, you know, setback.
100 feet's pretty deep.
It
isn't
is, it is, but you know, if you're talking agricultural, that's a whole different bear of a different growl.
Gives
You
you,
know
a
what I
chance to chase that chicken down
You get a chance to chase the chicken. Several chickens.
before it hits the road.
Yeah, I think you have 20 chickens and a rooster. I'm not sure.
I see.
Anyway, that's a whole different subject. That would be in Leonard. They have an ordinance kind of leaning in that direction. Did you know that too?
No, I didn't.
You didn't? Okay.
You're just a font of knowledge.
I know. Sometimes I even amaze me. Okay. But anyway, that's not the case here. So the west side, he's looking for a relief of 56 feet on that side, which would give him 44 feet, you know, from the line rather than 100 feet. So now that we understand that part of it, they wanted to know if there were any objections, you know, from the various people that own properties next to him. And they look around, nobody's there to, you know, say yay or nay. And I guess
Were they invited?
I guess an individual did reply that, you know, it was fine with them. It didn't have any issues with it. So that being said, actually, Eric Sent made the motion based on, you know, no people complaining, that it was in an area where it didn't impact the property holders, you know, a whole lot. And there's a number of reasons. There's about 6 reasons why he went forward, you know, to approve this, make a motion to approve it. And everybody then chimed in and they all agreed, you know. So happy-go-lucky, guy did a Snoopy dance. He was on his way out the door.
Okay.
So it worked out pretty good. So he did get his
Why
variance.
we don't catch the Snoopy dance on our video?
Probably not. But anyway, they did serve their purpose. And by the way, the Zoning Board of Appeals, this group in Addison Township, they do a great job in presenting the case to the public and also in their decision-making process.
Good.
I think they concurred with what Bob Davis, the attorney, wanted to see in that manner. And so you folks are very lucky out there in Addison to have a group like this, you know, heading up the Zoning Board of Appeals and other boards in Addison Township. And we'll talk more about this when we come back right after this.
Serving the nation's poor and vulnerable regardless of faith, and advocating on their behalf. We are Catholic Charities.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we are talking, or did talk about, the Addison Township Zoning Board of Appeals. Had a happy ending to that
Good,
one,
good.
right? For the beholder, the person who came on bended knee before this board. So it had a happy conclusion. The next meeting we're going to talk about is the Oxford Township Planning Commission meeting held on December 13th also. I had a couple of different meetings, but of course this one is in Oxford Township. Mike Young serves as the chairman of this board. Tom Berger is on the board. Ed Hunwick, who also serves on the Communications Commission as the chairman. And Jack Curtis, who was absent at this particular meeting, and Mike Spiz, who was also absent. Kelly Rostner Meyer was on this particular meeting, and it would be her last meeting.
Okay, is she being
for the
replaced by
year.
somebody?
She's being replaced by someone.
Who
And
shall be named later.
yeah, we'll name that individual later.
But you
ta-
know who it is.
Yeah, we did talk about her, earlier, on another session we had for the township trustees. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. It escapes my mind right now. Can you catch the escape and bring it back?
Not a chance.
I didn't think so. All right, then we better move forward with this. And I'm just kind of like a ice cutter cutting through ice. Okay.
Marshmallows.
Yes. So, okay, I got it. Okay, the Pledge of Allegiance, of course, and the preliminaries. The agenda was approved immediately. Minutes for September 13th. Kelly Rossner had an objection to it, so she spoke for some time about the content and the wording and the public meeting comments that they had. That during a public meeting that it should be more precise, that kind of thing. And she's complained that in the past, this hasn't been done, and it should be more articulated, I think is a word. Is that a word? I think it is. In detail. And she said, as a matter of record, she said that it's not really appropriate in her mind in the way it's been handled in terms of documentation. So she had her say in this, and but when they took a vote to accept the minutes for September 13th, she was the only person that objected, to
So it passed.
acceptance. So it did pass. Yep, pretty much with the whole quorum. Anyway, so the next thing was the public comments. Items not on the agenda, concerning public hearing. And this is kind of what Kelly Rossner was alluding to as well, a public hearing, that there's just a fine line of what happened when people spoke as far as a summarization, and not really a detailed representation of the individual speaking.
Well, you
I
never,
think that's
what,
fair.
What are you going to do, pre-qualify them?
Yeah, well, you can't write a book on it. And here's the point too, and Ed Hunwick brought it up. He said, well, if you want detailed information, it's on DVD, which you can get a copy of, or you can watch YouTube for OCTV, because this
Verbatim,
broadcast.
we never
Yep.
cut anything.
You cannot cut anything. It's law. Can't, right?
I don't know about law, but we don't cut anything.
It is the law. You cannot do that.
Why not?
Because it's a public information, and you cannot cut public information. You got to keep everything out on the table so everybody can look at it. What do you call that? You know what that is.
Truth in broadcasting.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
All right. You're going to call it that, aren't you? That's what it's going to be. Okay. That's it. Okay, we're going to move on, folks. So anyway, the first person that spoke, and the individuals here were reminded that there's a 3-minute time period which you're allowed to speak to the board. Bruce Myers, who is Kelly Rossner's husband. Chicken Little, I think the sky just fell.
Just a watch.
Just a watch, okay. It's your turn to watch. Bruce Myers spoke, and he said his letter to the public at a public meeting that he requested, because he wasn't going to be at the meeting, that it be a matter of record. And he said he was surprised to find that it was not in the record minutes. And so he was upset over that, disgusted with the way that was handled. And so he made people aware of that, of course, on the board. Jim Eunice was the second person that stood up. He said that he wanted to know who takes the minutes, and that individual is identified as the recorder, which could deviate from time to time. But
Well, when you pare minutes right down to the bone, they should only have motions made and votes taken.
that's what the attorney said. The attorney's opinion for the township. That's exactly what he said. And actually, Ed Hunwick, he had an opportunity to speak. He did say that he checked on it, and that's what he was told as well. You can't go verbatim.
Everything else is peripheral.
That's true. If you were to write everything that happened, I mean, some of these meetings are 2 hours long. Can you imagine the minutes?
I've seen minutes like that, and in an attempt to capture
Right.
everything that was said, you end up with 20 pages, and that doesn't work.
And then the question is, too, how accurate are those minutes? It's
true.
all in the perception of the individual taking the minutes and how it's recorded.
Right, and a lot of times they're forced to summarize
Right.
and capture the essence of the thought, and sometimes maybe it doesn't happen.
You're right. And you know what? With today's technology, I'm surprised that they don't use the DVDs because it's the most accurate informational database that you can get your hands on.
That's right.
For a meeting.
You may not have heard something quite accurately at the actual time it was said, but you can go back into a DVD and play the darn thing over and over again until you get it.
Yeah, you can get the actual wording and exactly the phrase that was used by the individual making a motion and so forth, right?
And then there's the whole thing of the spirit of what was said, and that leads to subjectivity.
Well, you know, the spirit could be there and the spirit could not be there. Depends on the individual that does
You're never going to duplicate the tone.
No. And Ed Hunwick was very exact in what he said. You know, he's not going to tell the recorder what to write. He said that's not the board's responsibility to do that.
And I'm in favor of the lawyer's definition anyhow.
Yeah. Well,
That's what's
you'd
required.
have to be. I mean, you pay an attorney to give his opinion. Once he gives it, what do? You ignore it?
Well, you have the minutes, and if someone wants to take a journal,
Sure, right.
that's a different thing.
Right. And plus, if somebody, you know, taking the minutes was inaccurate in the minutes, I mean, you leave yourself wide open.
Right,
You know.
and that's why at various meetings they look at the minutes and they say, I'd like to make a change because that's not what was actually said or
Right.
decided or whatever.
Right. In Kelly Rossner's position, she'd say, I got 200 changes I want to make to this. So that could be. But, you know, a lot of the things, emphasis that she put on minutes, I can kind of agree with her,
Oh.
you know, in a lot of ways. But it's what I would like to see. But is it what should be seen? Probably not. If I want to see exactly what occurred, what do? OCCTV, check it out.
.org.
Yep.
Click on programs, click on the municipality you want to look at, and it's all in reverse date order.
And we're talking about not just Oxford Township, the ZBA, Planning Commission, all of those,
We do.
but the village as well.
Village of Leonard, Village of Oxford, Village of anything we do.
Right. Leonard, big town of
It
Leonard,
takes the village.
it takes the village. Several townships, sometimes in this case. So anyway, so there was a rather interesting discussion that went on. And there's another individual that stood up. No, that was it. No, one more, yeah. Jenny Benson. She stood up. She said she was unhappy with the minutes as well.
Oh,
But with both the township and the planning commission, and she was concerned that a number of the planning commission meetings were canceled, you know, through her dismay, even though they wanted to get on these agendas.
oh.
So why
Well-
that occurred, I mean, I think holidays had something to do
Well,
with other
there's
things too.
timing involved, and when did you request to get on there versus when they made the decision to cancel.
That's true, and it depends on, you know, if they have a full docket or if it's just one item, you know, they don't want to have the full board, you know, show up
Right.
and not have the business that it takes to get the township's business completed, right?
Right.
Okay, we'll talk more about that when we come back, folks, right after this. Welcome back, Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we are talking about what went on in several meetings. The last one that we're talking about right now is about the Oxford Township Planning Commission meeting.
Yes.
And it was rather interesting. This is the last meeting that Kelly Rossner will sit on. There's a new person will be coming in that was appointed by Bill Dunn and the board, trustee board, just a couple weeks ago. And it should take place about January, the first meeting. But anyway, we were talking about what went on with Ed Hunwick and his comments, and also Jonathan Knoll that sits on this board. He wanted to talk about the new businesses and what economic development was going on in both the township and, of course, the village. And he said that there's new business in downtown that's coming in.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, a couple of new businesses. And don't ask me what they are, but you just mentioned it.
I'm going to ask you what they were.
I know you were. That's why I said, don't ask me. Don't do that.
Well, you opened the can and
I
wouldn't let
know.
the ingredients out.
I know. All right. Well, next week we'll provide the ingredients.
I see.
Okay.
I think you know.
I kind of parts of it, but I didn't want to say anything until that. Okay.
Yeah, boy.
You know how that works. Anyway,
Omerta.
yeah. And he said the car lot is coming along. He said clean cars, which is where the Burger King location is
yeah.
located. And Leo's, of course, is coming along pretty good. People want to know, he said, when they're going to open and blah, blah, and all this kind of stuff. He said, they don't have a plan as far as the exact date they're going to open, but he said, based on what he's seen in their progress, he said it probably won't be too long.
No. Anybody else going into that? Any of the other slots in that little strip mall?
There are, I believe, 3 other slots that are going to be open. I believe there's 1 or 2 already contracts signed. And
Good.
Again, they didn't release who that was going to be. The Pollyant Trail, he said, there's people are concerned and talking about new docks that have gone in. You know, Powell Lake is one of them. There's going to be several others. They're going to go in on various lake locations.
Concerned?
Yeah, I mean, they're happy about it.
Oh,
They
that's
can-
different.
Yeah, they don't have to cut through the weeds
I see.
with their machete. They can now walk out on the dock, throw their fish line in, and catch fish.
Oh.
It's a good deal. That machete, you know.
I remember
tough
taking a
work.
trek to one of those docks.
Yeah, right.
It's only a short
Oh.
walk, Dave. Here, hold this drone.
I think I grabbed you by the ear and we went.
Yeah.
I remember that, yes. But you enjoyed that, though.
Towards the end, I was about ready to kick you in the butt, but that's okay.
Actually, Pollyant Trail has done a lot of work out in that area. See the walkways and everything that they've done?
Yeah, it was just amazing that
Oh,
after all
Lake.
that trek, we discovered a parking lot no more than 100 yards away.
Well, folks, I got to tell you, this guy is a navigator. I was a pilot, so, you know, whose fault would that be? Yeah, right. Okay.
Come on, Dave, it's a short walk.
Right. Well, when springtime comes, you folks will want to take the opportunity of walking out there, Powell Lake area.
It's a beautiful dock, by the way.
Beautiful dock, and the walkways are great. I mean, they're all pretty much all new. You just go past the library, and unless you want to go to this parking lot that you were talking about, right? Okay, maybe you don't want to take the
Not
parking
quite
lot.
a scenic walk, but
Right.
hey.
Yeah, my route
It is a very scenic walk, by the way.
right. My walk, you got to admit, was much more scenic, much more enjoyable, even though you were kind of pooped by the time we got back.
When anyone says they're taking you on the scenic route, you know what it means.
Right. Well,
It's long.
I refused to carry him, so he had to crawl the rest of the way back. So anyway, it was interesting, and actually there were a couple of kids out fishing at the
Yes,
time.
they were.
Yeah,
And they had fish.
they did. Yeah. I don't know if they brought their fish or I don't think they brought them, right?
Well, you got to
I
show
think they caught
you
them.
got to show something when you go.
Right. I think we buzzed them with the drone. Did we do that?
No.
No, that was a different occasion.
I think you might have buzzed an electric wire, but that's another thing.
Yeah, I might have done that. Okay, Kelly Rossner, she wanted to point out in her comments that state legislature has passed a law allowing group homes with 20 acres to have 10 people to the home rather than, I believe it was 7 before. So
Okay.
that increase, she said, is unwelcome as far as she was concerned, and also people in the agricultural area. So she pointed that out very strongly, that that legislation has been approved, I think, on both ends, the House and the Senate. So that more likely will take place. It's kind of the same predicament that we're into as far as the charter, franchise fees. And
You mean Senate Bill 637?
yeah, that guy.
Okay.
We've been talking about that one a lot. And they
Yeah.
have passed that, so we have some
They've passed it
financial
in both
issues.
houses?
Both houses have been
Now it
passed.
sits on the governor's or the governor-to-be's office.
Probably the governor, more likely. He'll sign it before he goes out, more likely. That's what the thinking is. In that case, the station has to find new avenues for revenue, right?
Avenues for revenue.
That could be a
Sound
good
like an ad.
could do a slogan. Yeah, we could do that. Take that note, will you?
Yeah, sure.
All right. New business. 2019 meeting dates were approved. Did you get that information as far as their meeting dates for the Planning Commission?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yep.
Okay, great. This guy's right on top of it, I got to tell you, folks.
And our bulletin board, which has been sort of laying on
Bulletin?
its back for a while because of technical problems, we've come up with a solution. So you should be seeing it pretty soon.
Oh, what are we going to be seeing?
The bulletin board.
How are you going to do that when it's not working?
It wasn't working.
It wasn't. You
I,
gotta-
I transmorgified it. How's that?
Oh, okay. And it's alive.
It's alive. It lives.
It lives.
And it's
okay.
up to date.
Oh, good for you. Good job. Okay, that's something I didn't know about.
Ah.
Did you ever mention that to me before? Probably not.
Well, we tried various approaches.
You kicked the machine, that didn't go.
You kicked the machine.
No, I didn't.
I just changed the software.
I think that was Bill Service. I think he kicked the machine.
I see.
He was upset over it.
Sometimes that works.
Yeah, and then he pointed his finger at you and said, fix it.
There it is.
There it is, Mr. Fix-It. Okay, yearly report for Ordinance Revenue Committee. Consultant made a review of that, Carlisle Wortman, a representative, and they came right down to this. Their attorney is awaiting recommendation for legal support.
Oh.
Okay.
For legals. Wait a minute. The
For
attorney is
legal.
waiting.
He's waiting to give his legal stamp on it.
I see.
Bam, bam. Bam, bam.
Work in progress.
Legal stamp. Yep, that's what it would be.
Bottom of the stack.
Bottom of the stack, okay. Let me see, what else have we got? That's pretty much it for the Oxford Township Planning Commission meeting. What have you got coming up?
Well, we do have meetings, and they're all in the new year. And on 1/7 at 7 o'clock, the Village of Oxford Zoning Board of Appeals will be
Yes.
meeting. And on 1/8 at 6 o'clock, the Addison Township Planning Commission. And at 6:30 that same day, the Village of Oxford Council, another favorite of yours.
Yes.
And on 1/9 at 6:30, the Oxford Township Board of Trustees. And on 1/10 at 6 o'clock, the Addison Township Zoning Board of Appeals. And at 7 o'clock, the Oxford Township Planning Commission.
Again.
Again,
Okay,
again,
360 degrees and right back again.
Yep.
I want to say, too, that make sure you check the Village Zoning Board of Appeals. Make sure they have that meeting. Now, they maybe have one or two a year, depending on the docket.
they're scheduled, every month, but chances are they could get canceled.
Right. But here's the good thing. If you should miss one of these meetings, for good, you want to attend if you can, but if you can't, Minutes by Minute is a good alternative.
That's right.
We give an abbreviated version.
The
of what
Reader's
goes on.
Digest version, yes, indeed.
We condense 2 hours down to 5 minutes, 10
I think
minutes.
we should have a test at the end.
What do you mean we, pale face?
Hey, Tonto.
Right. So anyway, that's pretty much where you can get all the information, is going by occtv.org and clicking on. And
What?
Clicking on something.
Well, click on programs if you want to. If
Okay.
you want to see anything out there, including, you got all the municipal meetings, and they're all, each municipality, the villages, the townships, sports, and some of, even our show is on there.
Anything, everything
Oxford News This Week.
concerning local. Right?
And some not so local.
I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
Catch you next time right here on Minutes by Minute.
See you then.